Welcome, everyone. I call this meeting of the House and Children and Family Affairs Subcommittee to order. Haley, would you please call the roll?
Representatives Bricken, here. Eldridge, here. Farmer, here. Gillespie, here. Harris, Stewart, Chairman Littleton.
Here.
Madam Chair, you have a quorum.
Thank you. I want to make a few introductions today, and I also want to welcome Chairman Farmer. He's taken Chairman Carter's place, who we all know that passed away last year and broke all of our hearts, and we sure do miss him, but we do welcome you, Chairman Farmer. Thank you for being with us. I also want my assistant, Haley Pereira, and Ben Voigt, a research analyst. Y'all, your names are kind of... So, and Michelle Fogarty, our legal assistant. Thomas Woodard, our sergeant at arms. Benjamin Adams, our clerk. And Elizabeth Edwards is in the back here, recording all of us, so be careful. No, I'm just kidding. Just had to say something funny for a little while. Are there any announcements or personal orders from anyone? Okay, hearing none, we'll just move forward. We'll do a little housekeeping. House Bill 466 by McKenzie has been taken off notice, and it's his third. Where's that little paper? Yep, I have too many papers. Since this bill has been calendared 3 times without objection, it is referred to the special calendar to be heard with the final calendar. House Bill. House Bill 1588 by Leader Camper has been taken off notice without objection. House Bill 1866 by Representative Casta has been rolled 1 week without objection. So we have House Bill 1545 by Representative Weaver. The bill is deferred in the Senate, but she wanted to speak on the bill for a little while, so we won't be making any votes on it, but she's going to kind of tell us a little bit more about the bill, and then once it's opened and comes back in the Senate, then we'll take it back up here in the House.
Motion on the bill?
We're not going to vote. Okay. Oh, yes, we do.
Okay. Motion on the bill.
Properly motioned and second. Representative Weaver, you're recognized.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. And thank you for giving me ample time to explain why I'm passionate about this bill. The amendment before you that we're going to be speaking on is 12436. So we have amended the bill since the original bill went out so that you're on the right posture of the legislation. Again, the bill is asking simply to may appoint and authorize a family advocate for the parent. And a little history here I'd like to share on why, again, an advocate for the parent is necessary in these cases. The DCS handbook, they hand out, as I understand, the DCS hands a handbook out to a parent, and in that handbook it says that parents and families are entitled to an advocate. And we ask, why an advocate? Well, an advocate is able to help someone, whether it be a parent or an advocate in medical advocate or lawyer advocate, or there's numerous advocates, to help them understand and exercise and protect their rights. And DCS, in my humble opinion, is an adversary to the parent. And why do I say that? It's because they cannot fairly provide this within the agency because basically their function is to investigate child abuse and operational function. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I'm just saying that they're tasked to do that. And I applaud the department in areas where there's child abuse. Yes, we need to fix that, most definitely. But it's not always that way, and that's why I'm here to ask that we appoint an advocate for the parent. DCS operates Again, as I said earlier, their function is to investigate child abuse and manage the custody of children. And that is actually proven just in the budget piece that we get for children's services and how they spend their most money. Again, it's kind of like a checkbook. My dad always said when you have a checkbook, you find out where your priorities are, how much money goes here, how you can tell a lot by a budget and where all the monies go. And on the budget that I have we have before us in needs and custody support, over $417 million is spent in those services, and adoption services is $143 million, over $143 million. So again, there's a lot of money being paid for custody for our kids, which again is to their credit is what they do. But here's the premise of what I'm trying to seek. Once a family is in the system, they face an administrative path and a legal court path. I'm talking about the parent. They have meetings with DCS outside of the court process, and they are also engaged in services and individual meetings with DCS representatives. And there is a complex web of policies, procedures, rules, and regulations that are beyond common knowledge. So the purpose of this advocate, again, members, is to help the parent understand the policies and regulations outside of the court process and support family towards reunification. Now, I don't know anyone in this room who wouldn't be for keeping families together. That should be our first priority. And who would not support the parent in this process with an advocate just to help that parent understand? A lot of these parents, they just don't have resources. Many of them haven't even graduated from school, and that's not a negative. I'm just giving you the reality of boots on the ground and what's going on, especially out in my district. Now, the legal representation versus advocacy. I know DCS had some concerns about how all this plays in the mix, but we are living in a world where advocacy is well known. I just want to reemphasize that. There are disability advocates, there are medical advocates, there are special education advocates, and they serve a role distinct from the legal representation. A parent's attorney, most of whom are court appointed because of poverty, are focused on their legal work such as preparing the motions, the court documents, preparing witnesses and subpoenas, and appearing in court multiple times. And they are not required to engage in the administrative track of the process. So these attorneys have a cap on the amount of hours they can get paid so that they must manage that time to prepare their court cases. Another concern DCS had was confidentiality. DCS stated that the procedures and information are confidential, as they should be. The same statute provides for the appointment of a CASA volunteer who is not an attorney, but is also allowed to access to all the court records, the DCS records, the courtroom procedures. All the DCS policy provides that, also the DCS policy provides that a parent can have a support person in their confidential meetings. This statute that's before you, members, merely mirrors the role of the CASA volunteer. So they already are given that authority. CASA versus the parent and family advocacies was another concern, and DCS was created in 1995 with the public policy of family reunification. That's the goal of the Department of Children's Services, is to keep these families together. One of the major traumas, and when you do the science, that a child has, the root of their trauma is being separated from their parents. Divorce is heartbreaking on children because it separates that unification. And yet, because of all the complexity and adversity that families have, they get stuck in a maze. Now, CASA does not advocate for family reunification, but states that their mission is child safety. Although a worthy perspective, This can put CASA at odds with families. The consent of the parent is another concern. DCS states that perhaps one parent will consent and another one will not. There is no argument here. If that does occur, the advocate would only work with one parent in understanding the process. Again, that's the reason why I'm passionate about this. Are we providing the best resources and information to these parents? Remember, they're risking their child being taken from them. Engagement. Oh, wait, I have another thing. Consent of minors 14 years old, or some of them are older. DCS says, what if a 14-year-old or older did not consent? Well, that's fine. But the advocate does not need to work with them. Although that is highly unlikely that that child would oppose, still again, the advocate does not need to work with them. A great deal of families engaged with DCS are simply low-income families dealing with family crisis. We have a whole bunch of that across our state, and it is so unfortunate. But the purpose of the advocate in this bill and the spirit and the intent of this legislation in front of you is to make their engagement with the state agency more effective and more efficient. That's all I seek to do. And again, what person in here would not want to do everything in their power and make sure every stone is lifted to make sure that that parent understands the process to keep their children? I'm going to give you a little story of my family who, with 8 children, my grandparents, every day was survival in World War II, when they were refugees, when they were kicked out of their home country in Brestovic, Yugoslavia. Okay, it's another country, it's another era of time. It's still the same scenario in many cases. They were homeless for 6 years. Just to find a meal was survival. Every day was survival. But the beauty of how this all ended was that all the 8 siblings and my grandma and grandfather, my dad I'm talking about as a young child, they stayed together. And that is the main thing they remember. My dad's 82 now. Hell broke loose against them. They didn't have a home. They were homeless. They didn't have food. They didn't have shoes. They didn't have a lot of things. But they had the family. And that is why I'm passionate about this bill. We got to do everything we can to keep these families together.
Representative Weaver, thank you very much for your presentation.
So am I done?
Mm-hmm.
Is that the shut up music?
I think so, but thank you.
Hey, no problem. I thank you for your indulgence. I truly do. But I wanted to give you the history behind it so you had something to think about. And we'll revisit this the next time, right?
Did you want to take this off notice?
No. Oh, yes, I guess I do, because I need to wait for the Senate side, and then we'll bring it back.
Okay.
Yes, that's the
Yes.
proper
So
procedure.
House Bill 1545 is taken off notice without objection.
All right, thank you. Thank you, members. Thanks.
So now we are going to go out of session for some presentations.